So you want to do a PhD in theology? Well, you clicked on the right place because I'm going to talk about the 6 things I learned as a female PhD student. You might want to really pay attention at the end of this video because I talk about the one, two, three, four, the 5 things you can use to make the decision whether to do it or not to do it. Number one, theology. One thing I learned is theology is exciting. If you like theology now and historical studies, you will really love it. And when you double down in the PhD program, so it's in a very exciting field, and it's full of opportunities for females right now. So if you think it's interesting, then you're really going to love it when you start doing all of the reading and the research. Number two, I wish I would have understood how long the process was going to be. I didn't know before I did committed to a PhD that I was actually going to do it. I just kind of followed my interest in studies, and I didn't realize that the process was so lengthy even when I started. So I did a undergraduate degree in biblical counseling. I should have probably did something in biblical studies, but biblical counseling has served me well in the church because I've used it to counsel a lot. It's really helped me to understand practical theology. So I'm glad that I did that. But if you're planning on doing a PhD in theology, you should probably stick in somewhere in the area of biblical studies or historical studies, something like that. And then you have to do a master's. I did a master's in divinity, and most people have to do a master's in divinity, which is a 91-hour degree. Sometimes you can find a school like I think HBU does like a 72-hour, and then there's DTS, Dallas Theological Seminary, that does more like a 125-hour credit one. That's really a long one, but they have a combined degree there. So anyway, I did a 91-hour master's in divinity, and some people go on from that and do a master's in theology too. They narrow their interest, and so my screen went dead. And so they narrow the interest and they'll do that and then go into a PhD program. But I just went from a master's in divinity straight into a PhD program. So it's a long process, and I didn't realize how much language work that you have to do. So in your master's work, you do Greek and Hebrew. And depending on what PhD program requires you to do what, I did 2 years of Greek and 1 year of Hebrew. Sometimes you have to do 2 years of Hebrew, 2 years or 3 years of Greek, or it's a mixture. So, and then of course in your PhD work, you have to do 2 research languages. So I'm doing Latin and German. What I would have wished I had told my earlier self is if I wish I had taken like either Latin or French in high school, and I could have tested out of those languages and wouldn't have to spend so much time now in my own self study. So yeah, dig into the languages. You have to do that. Number 3, as a female student, I had to think about balancing my family. I had 3 kids that were in middle school and high school at the time, and then my husband and home and doing ministry as well. So I had to figure out kind of on the hop how to do that. So I started all this when all my kids before they had license to drive. So I was driving my kids to all their extracurricular activity, trying to cook dinner, and just do all the things that you have to do as a mom and a wife. And so I spent a lot of time in my car around and sitting in parking lots all over Houston waiting for my kids to get out of their extracurricular activity. So I always had books and reading material to do and try to utilize my time efficiently. So I've never been without a book, never without a book. So make sure you can do that. So you got to figure out how to balance all of that. And to balance study time, you have to be able to carve out time where you can study. A lot of times I study early in the morning. There's times during really busy parts of research and work, I'll get up at like 4 and 4:30 and work till like 8 until the world woke up. And then find pockets throughout the day, and then at night. You find your way through that. Number 4, that's a lot of reading. I don't think you understand how much reading, hundreds and hundreds of pages a week sometimes. But I love reading, and I love the content, so it's heaven for me. I sit right back there in that chair right there behind me, hours and hours and hours, and I read, and love it, love it, love it. So number 5, as a female student going into theology, I didn't realize how much the classrooms would be dominated by male students. I just didn't think about it. It's a male-dominated field, and so oftentimes I looked around. I'm the only female in the student in my master's work and in my PhD work. So I've learned to speak up as a female. I was intimidated at first, and I thought, I'm here to learn and to grow and to contribute to this conversation. So as a female student, I've been able to contribute in unique ways that some of the guys in the classes hadn't really thought of because they kind of don't think in those categories. So speak up, learn to speak up, girls. And finally, number 6, I have learned that theology needs women. We need more women in this exciting field, and the gates are open for us. It's unprecedented time that we as females can go into this kind of discipline and contribute in unique ways. So if you are interested in all of those kind of things I discussed, and it's exciting to you to hear about that, and you think that you can navigate those things, then by all means pray about it and can talk to your family and commit to it. It's a very exciting and enjoyable field. So how do you make the decision to do it or not do it? Well, I'll just tell you what I did. I thought about 5 things. My interest, my family support, money or finances, time, and energy. So first of all, I asked myself, am I really interested in this topic? And during my master's work, I realized that, yeah, I'm really interested in it, because what gave me a clue? When I was really tired of reading technical work, I would pick up another book in theology and read it just to rest. So that really let me know that I'm interested. I talked about it a lot. I know my family they're sick of hearing about me talk about theology. So I definitely had an interest. Number 2, I had a family support. I talked to my husband and my kids before I even started and asked, well, what do you think about this? Do you think that this would be a good thing for me? Can you see me doing that? And so they said, yeah, this is really in your lane. They didn't use that word, but they completely supported me because they knew down the long haul that someone else would be cooking dinner sometimes. Somebody else would pick up kids. The kids would be doing stuff that because it is rigorous work sometimes, and you have really busy parts of the semester that you're living in research. So family support, finances. Now, you don't have to have all of your finances before you even start, but you should have a viable way to bankroll your education, because it does cost a pretty penny to go through all of these degrees and time, to do this. So can you get a grant? Can you get a scholarship? Can your parents help you? Who can contribute to your education? Sometimes women can get scholarships that other people can't even. The time. And I'm not saying the next item is time. And I'm not asking, do you have the extra time left over to do it? Because nobody has extra time left over to do anything. What I'm saying is, can you carve out the time to do such a degree? Do you have time? For example, I'm an early bird, so a lot of times I would get up super early in the morning, work till 8 o'clock or whatever. Some people do it at night when they get home from work and they tuck their kids in bed. I know for myself, I could have never had the time to do this when my kids were just really little bitty kids, because I was already exhausted with them. So I wouldn't have had I couldn't have carved the time when they were really little, but I was able to later. And then lastly, the energy. Do you have the type of personality that can discipline themselves for the long haul to do this kind of work? Because there's times that you're going to have to force yourself to do things. So the energy, it does take energy to do. So do you have the interest, the family support, the finances, the time, and the energy? I hope this video has been helpful to you. I wish I had a video like this before I started. But if you like it, be sure to like it and to share it and to subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting more female theology out there for your benefit. Thanks.